Hello, the doc is in and welcome back to another chapter of Black Clover, chapter 341, Hazy. In the last chapter, basically we have Asta and Ichika pulling the 1v1, and we basically get to see, the full capabilities of Z10. More or less. Ichika says it's a real battle, so we can assume she wasn't really holding back. Maybe not like literally trying to kill Asta, but she was definitely giving it the good old college try, and she beats the fuck out of Asta. Like, he really catches the hands. Even when he tries to use his I never give up magic, Ichika slaps that shit down because he was not feeling the vibes, nor feeling Asta in the slightest. And that's basically how we end off the chapter. This chapter starts off with us meeting three more members of the Ryuzen 7. Now, obviously the Ryuzen 7 suggests 7 members, Ichika's 1. Then we have the other 3, which we'll go over them in just a moment. So I assume there's 3 more, but maybe it's just a weird number thing where like they say 7 and they're just called the 7, but they're not actually 7. I assume that's wrong, but I mean it's possible. But anyway, 3 people meet me: Amari Komari, a girl; Ukadai Zaman, person, guy, number 2, and Hanagatsuji Jozo, person number 3. And the chapter starts off with them all beating the hell out of Asta. And so we got the bigger guy, Zaymon, basically being like, you're a foreigner, welcome to the land of the sun. And he's just knocked the hell out. And we got Amari basically being like, oh my god, how'd you get your hair that color? Is that natural for foreigners? And at this point he's knocked out, but he's getting healed right after this. And basically everybody's just interacting with each other, talking. We see Amari and Jozo talking, and basically they're both ninjas, it seems. And Amari is kind of like, I guess you could say, she may not necessarily be actually a teenager, but it kind of gives off that preppy teenager vibe. She's wearing like the makeup, and she got like tan skin, and she's wearing relatively provocative clothing. And we got Jozo basically being like, it's disrespectful to the history. And Amari's basically like, dog, you have a creepy mask on, like let's just keep it serious here, let's just keep it honest. And so they're kind of discussing amongst each other. We're kind of getting a sense of their personalities. Amari's bubbly, Jozo's kind of I want to say cold, like historical nerdy boy, and Zaymon might be a little bit of a perv, but that's not important. So right, we meet them, and they're all basically like, cool, let's do training with Asta. They all train together. Asta gets his ass whipped every single time, and basically he's just thinking about the situation. He's like, okay, well, none of them use their actual magic. Everybody was using their Z10 or whatever. And he's like, okay, fighting these people in close combat, I kind of realized everybody uses their Z10 in different ways, where he basically likens it to like a math problem, where if your Z10 allows you to amplify your key properties to a level of 10, different people might use it like maybe 2 strong attacks. So like he says like 2 5 levels kicks versus like 5 2-level hit punches. I don't know if I did the math problem right, but the point is, people can do a breakdown differently. You can do 1 10, 2 hits of 5, 5 hits of 10, 5 hits of 2, 10 hits of 1. Who knows? You can do a number of different ways, but basically Z10's pretty malleable in terms of a power system. And so Asa says, like, I'm kind of trying to learn how to get better at exploiting people's openings. And so he's kind of just laying there, he's thinking back about his people or whatever, because he can't really move or whatever. And then Ichika pulls up. All right, Ichika comes in, and so they're having a little bit of conversation, just a little bit of friendly convo. I was just trying to figure out what honorific to give Ichika, and Ichika's like, first off, I'm 24, you're a child to me, have some respect. 2, you can just call me Ichika, right? And so we find out that the reason why Ichika's visiting Asta at this time, even though she greatly dislikes him, is because Ryuya has said that she should train Asta. And so basically from here we get a little bit of fangirling from Ichigo, which is interesting in terms of Ryuya. And basically, first off, we get a little explanation of like his ability of clairvoyance, where he's able to see anything in the present at when it's happening, is called Teigensu, and that's how he's able to govern the country, even though he has no magic ability or anything like that. And as Asa's kind of like, you're saying that he's able to see anything everywhere at the same time whenever he wants, and that sounds kind of crazy. And Ichigo's kind of like, dog, Ryuya's like the best. Like, he saved the country, he's a good person who's really smart, and he's really popular. Like, he's the best. And we get this little panel, and it's honestly adorable, because just like you just can imagine, like, this tiny little tyke is just like, well, not tiny, I mean, obviously she's adult, she's even older than Asta, but it's kind of like just imagining, like, the big fangirl is like, you're talking trash about my man, he's the best thing ever. And it's just adorable, it's a little cute. And then she recollects herself. He's like, well, anyway, this well-esteemed person told me to train you, so that's why I'm gonna do it. All right, I trust him very deeply, because he helped me while I was in a dark place. And, it seems like, they're having a little bit of heart to heart. Ichigo's opening up. I mean, given it's about Ryuya, but they're opening up. And so then Asa's kind of like liking it. He's like, oh, Katayami's kind of like that for me too. He's a really good person, though he's a little rough around the edges in many, many, many different ways. He is the pride and joy of my team, and we care about him very deeply. And Ichigo's like, yeah, I don't want to hear anything about all that. All right, you can keep that Yami propaganda to yourself. And Asa's kind of like, you want to hear anything about your own brother? I mean, he said he got shipwrecked or whatever, but I mean, it's probably nonsense. It's probably more to the story, I guess. And Ichigo's like, dog, my older brother, Yami, piece of shit. Don't like him. And Asa's like, they're talking about my cat like that. Pussy. That's your sister. You're his sister. Have some respect. I know he's a piece of shit sometimes, but he's still pretty cool. And Ichigo kind of takes a step further. She's like, obviously you may not know, foreigner, but the reason why we don't fuck with that, I don't fuck with that man, is because he annihilated my entire clan. And then we get Flashback in the land of the sun, and we get to see little girl Ichigo, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, with young, I don't know if young man's the right word, but young person Yami. And basically we get them talking, and it seems like he's about to go out fishing, which means we're probably going to get an insight into the event that caused, Yami to end up in the Clover Kingdom. And I guess a little bit of explanation into how he annihilated his entire clan. But yes, that's the end of the chapter, and break next week. I cry so much. So first things first. So Yami's little sister is actually about his age. At this point, they're kind of more like peers, because you say Yami's 28, 29, and Ichigo's 24, so that's like a small gap. Obviously, as kids, that'd be more dramatic, but at this point in their lives, they'd be more like peers, which is interesting. But I just wanted to put that out because I just thought it was interesting when I found out about it. It was just like, oh shoot, how old's Yami again? So like, low key. But anyway, chapter pretty good. Interesting to meet some more of the Ryuzen 7. Will they be important? Like how every other group is not important? Probably not. I mean, even the way they were introduced kind of was like, oh yeah, people, we fought them, got a little bit of personality, cool designs, moving on. And again, if Ichigo's likely the strongest, it's like, why would he train with the weaker people if he's not training with them first? So yeah, it seems like it's just gonna be Ichigo and Asta, and the other 6, quote unquote, are just gonna be kind of like there for some purpose, but we'll figure it out later. But we get more Zaten training. It seems like, Asta's figuring out more about that. He's upgrading, he's getting better at the fighting stuff, he's though closing up some of his weaker ends of his fighting style, things seem to be going fine. The real interest in this chapter kind of comes in towards the end with Ichika, obviously, with a little bit of a lore dump. We find out a little bit more about Ryuya and his abilities. It literally just seems like he has clairvoyance. He's able to see things that a normal person simply should not be able to see. And I mean, we kind of knew about that, but I mean, it's good to get it like outright confirmed that like, oh, this is a thing that he's able to do. Why he's able to do that, still not explained on that, but I'm sure we'll get explanation for that in due time. We also get to see that Ichika seems to be like not only deeply indebted but truly admire Ryuya in a deep manner. Now, whether this is like a love kind of thing or if it's just kind of like I just really respect him, I would currently stand on the point of like it's like a respect thing. It doesn't come off as like a romantic thing, but it is interesting, I will say, that Ichika is so like deep with her hatred towards Yami. Though when Asa spoke to Ryuya about Yami, he seemed to think relatively fondly of Yami, who technically, if we're believing Ichika's story, is a mass murderer. It's like, okay, why would Ryuya not have a problem with Yami if Yami really is just some guy who killed Ichika's whole family? Especially when you consider Ichika works for Ryuya, and Ryuya obviously has some form of care and dedication to taking care of Ichika at some point in her life. You know, it just seems kind of weird to me, but nonetheless, Ichika basically hates her brother, and we'll get explanation of that, I guess, next chapter, once again, in 2 weeks at least. So, you know, that's fun, I guess. And yeah, that's kind of it for the chapter. I mean, there's not too much else to discuss, and we definitely don't really need to talk about the Ryuzen 7 just yet, because in all honesty, it really just comes down to how much the author really wants to put them in the story. Like, that might have just been the whole introduction to them, and likely the only time we're really gonna see them for real at this time, which I'm fine with. I mean, we really don't need to spend time meeting brand new characters at the very end of the story, especially when there are other characters who've also gotten stuff that we've met earlier. So yeah, overall, pretty good chapter. I think we'll call it there. Leave a like if you like, leave a dislike if you dislike. Comment, what do you think really happened to Yami's clan? Did he actually kill them? Did someone else kill them? Did they try to save Yami and then that ended up killing them? And then Ichika basically was mad about that. But it's kind of like it's not exactly his fault, but it's kind of his fault kind of situation. Leave comments on those below. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see more videos like these whenever a new chapter of Black Clover comes out, or a new chapter of various other series I cover, Jujutsu Kaisen, Tokyo Revengers, etc. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see those. And thank you for watching the video up to this point, or skip it to this point because you're a weird person. And the duck is out. Peace.